Time for some water. Instead of using smelly, messy epoxy resin, I'm using this gloss gel medium that I bought at a local art supply store years ago. And I'm going to use this palette knife to apply it and texture it. It's basically the consistency of mayonnaise. I have to cover this black painted patch of plywood before putting in the Railcar float apron. It's easier to get to it now. It's very easy to apply, and in case you're wondering, yes, it dries clear even though it's going on white. Let's move the camera so you can see how I carefully edge it up to the pontoon I installed in the last video of this series. I let that initial coat dry for a day or two. It can take quite a bit of time to dry depending on how thick you applied it. I then applied a second coat, this time stippling it a bit more with a palette knife. I decided to also cover the original water I did years ago to freshen it up a bit. By the way, this technique I learned from Trolls Kirk, and I'll link his video here and in the description. He does do a better job than me, but he's also an amazing artist and has an eye for what looks right. I'm still learning and experimenting. Okay, so I'll stop there for now. Once that was almost dry, I installed the float apron. I used tacky PVA glue so that if I ever need to remove it, it should be easier than if I had used CA glue. I first glued the land end of the apron, making sure the rails aligned. Then I weighted it down and proceeded with gluing and weighting the other end. Next step is to glue in the car float. I noticed it was a bit too low on the side closest to the aisle, so I took a coffee stirrer stick, which seemed to be the right thickness, and glued it in place. Once that was dry, I glued the float in place using a dab of tacky PVA at each corner and midway down the middle on both sides. I checked to make sure the float was more or less in line with the apron and then weighed it down. I need to now add water between this piling wall and the float, as well as the other side close to the retaining wall. If you're wondering what this bare area is for, that's in a future video. It's a bit tricky to do and to be able to film it at the same time. Here I could show you better how I applied the gloss gel medium against the sides of the float, hiding the gap from the coffee stirrer stick. And again, I extended the water to the front, covering over what I had done previously years ago. This goes quickly, and I find it quite relaxing. The gloss gel medium is acrylic based, so it doesn't have any kind of toxic smell. And it's easy cleanup with water and soap. And it's done. Just now needs plenty of drying time. Next up in this video series is adding some details to the apron and carfloat, and then I can work on the other major project in this harbor. Thanks for watching.